Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Buhumuza, Burunga, and Butanyerera up here in Burundi. Now let's start by zooming out so you can see exactly where Burundi is located. It's a very tiny country here in Central Africa. It's arrowhead shaped, I always think of it. It's pointy. But here we are in Central Africa. Here we go. You can see just how tiny it is compared to like its giant neighbors, the DRC, Democratic Republic of the Congo. Tanzania is over here. But it does have a little neighbor in Rwanda up there. But that is where we are tonight. Now, I have done some videos on Burundi. I'm going to link my Burundi playlist up in the corner there. Because Burundi, last July 2025, changed all of their administrative divisions. They went from, I think, 18, I want to say, down to 5. So they consolidated. Bujumbura, very perfectly, we've already talked about. Bujumbura was 2 regions, Bujumbura Mairi and Bujumbura Rural. I combined them into one video, which is perfect because Burundi combined them into one region. So, check. The other areas, though, which includes like some areas we've already discussed, we're all wedged into one. And then there's Gitega in the middle. This became the capital of Burundi in 2019. And it has its own region here in the dead center. So someday in the future, we'll talk about Gitega. And then we'll be done with Burundi. Unless all the regions change again. We'll have to wait and see, I suppose. But yeah, all of the other areas were combined into big regions. 3 big regions here. And they're not on Google Earth. If you type them in, it gets very confused. So I'll try to like loosely show you the borders here. So starting with, and I've got like my notes on my PC over here, so I'm going to turn so you might hear me like this. Just to check my notes in the darkness here. Buhumuza, which is like over here-ish. Like these borders here. It has a long border with Tanzania and a little border with Rwanda up there. It is the least populous region in Burundi, now officially. And there's not really a lot of photos here. Cankuzo is the capital. Used to be its own Cankuzo district. Muyinga was its own district. It's now all part of Buhumuza. And the biggest sight to see, you can see right here, is the Ruvubu National Park. Now, Burundi is one of the poorest nations in Africa and in the world, but they do seem to really care for these national parks. I don't know the extent of it. I don't think it's as carefully managed as other parks. There are probably people who misuse this reserved space, if you know what I mean, for nefarious purposes. But look at that big baboon and hippos. There is definitely a sense of ecology in places like this. Jumping over the water there. Little monk of friends in the tree, looks like. Look how gorgeous. So yeah, Burundi is a very beautiful country, but it's not a tourist country. If you come here to see the sights, there's not going to be any like tours or agencies to go to. There'll be a few hotels, but you're not going to get any like tour guides. You're going to need more like protection. Burundi did go through a very, very terrible civil war, which I think wrapped up in 2007, I want to say. I think everyone knows about what happened in Rwanda in 93. I won't say the word, but it starts with a G. It ends in an N, no sign. It's not a very YouTube friendly word, so that's that. But it did, in a sense, also happen here in Burundi, not to the scale that it did in Rwanda, those 100 days. But the ethnic violence between Hutu and Tutsi did very much exist in Burundi, and still technically exists to this day, but not nearly as bad as it once was. Let's do some history of Burundi real quick. I forget which one was which, because these two peoples are essentially the same. There's really no difference between them other than one were farmers and one were herders. It's like Oklahoma, the farmer and the cowman should be friends, right? But, and they were once upon a time. There are various kingdoms. These names for these 3 regions came from ancient kingdoms that were essentially dissolved once the Europeans got involved. The Germans claimed Rwanda and Burundi until World War I, when the Belgians, who had what's now the DRC, invaded to take that German land because they were enemies, and they got to keep it after World War I. It was called Rondarundi, this whole area here. And the Belgians were very much into, segregation would be the word to use. Creating differences, using science to be one is more intelligent than the other, one is taller, one is smarter, one is faster, so on and so forth. People were forced to carry identification cards or pass cards, like in South Africa. Same kind of thing. That said what ethnicity they belonged to, and it created so much tension between the two groups. I'm going to adjust my mic real quick. Hold on. There we go. If it didn't make any sound, you wouldn't have known anyway. It did reach a head by the time these countries became independent, and one group wanted to dominate over the other. And it led to various assassinations of royal families. It led to the royal family here in Burundi being overthrown. Led to a terrible plane crash that killed the leaders of Rwanda and Burundi in one fell swoop. That's what triggered the events in Rwanda. It's what triggered the civil war in Burundi that lasted, like I said, into the early 2000s. So Burundi is still recovering from that conflict, that very terrible time in its history. It has not bounced back yet. Maybe someday, but not quite yet. And there's a lot of violence happening just across the border here in the DRC that's overflowing into Burundi. You can see Rumonge here, which is part of our next region, Burunga. Apparently a lot is overflowing into this area. So not technically like Burundian violence, but affected from other countries. Also lots of refugees coming in from the DRC into Burundi, as well as also affecting people's lives here. But let's talk about the geography here. You can see Lake Tanganyika, one of the African Great Lakes, which I did a whole video about during Viewer's Choice back in December. There's Bururi, which was the region I was going to show you guys last year when I was like, okay, let me sit down and do research on Bururi, and it said Bururi was a region, and I went, wait, why does it say was? And realized what had happened that summer, like weeks prior to me starting my research here. But there is a nature reserve here, the Bururi Forest, another very prized, protected area here in Burundi. Very pretty. Look at all the clouds down there. Lots of agriculture happening here. Ooh, big waterfall down there. We'll see Burundi's most famous waterfall in a second. It's on the other side of the region. Little station there, maybe a little like place you can get some snacks and maybe some gasoline. Some friendly faces there. Very friendly face there. Protected Natural Reserve Forest of Burundi. This is a Protégère Gunkigira Ishambra Chimeza Bururi. Goodness. I was trying to read the French, but then it went into not French at all. Goodness. Having a story time here, some kind of talk there. Maybe about ecology and preservation, or about health, or maybe it's a religious gathering. Who knows? But yeah, like I said, there's no tourism here, but this one site, which I have to type it in, or I can look at it. It's right there. This is like the most famous natural site in all of Burundi. It is Carrera Falls. And it's this big, beautiful, beautiful waterfall, like complex. It's what am I saying? It's a variety of waterfalls all combined into one, all trickling down, all beautiful. Rushing down there, and probably after a storm or something. Isn't it pretty? A series of waterfalls. I think that's what I was trying to say. Selfies. But yeah, like, oh, it's so cool. Like, if any area was the tourist sites to see, that's not Bujumbura, it's Carrera Falls. At least that's what I got from my research. Look at this scary bridge. I mean, I've seen scarier, don't get me wrong, but that's still a little too high up for my liking. Ooh, I don't know how I feel about it. And it's all wet. Probably from rain, because it's in the canopy. But, or maybe it's splash from the waterfalls. There's another little famous site out here that, let me see. That an explorer created back in the 1800s, I want to say the 1880s. This European guy, I forget his name, I did not write it down, said, I'm going to find the source of the Nile. And he decided it was right here. Right here at this little pool here, and he built a pyramid. So here it is. It's not a very big pyramid. There's a nice pool. A little plaque there. A little entryway, you can go inside it. A little sitting area so you can see this beautiful landscape. Trying to find pictures of people. There we go, on top of it so you can see how tiny it is. It is not a big pyramid. You can easily just walk up it in 3 steps. It is little. But it's allegedly where the Nile River begins. See, it's very small. And it's a pretty little path there. There it is. Dun-dun, the source of the Nile. Let me zoom out so you can see like just how rural this area is. So you can come out and see this little pyramid, but good luck. You're probably going to need a guide to get you out into this wilderness where there is just farmland and tiny little settlements. It's not like you can book a tour in Gitega or Bujumbura to come see the Nile Pyramid, right? You got to get there on your own, and it's in the middle of nowhere. I think, though, the town nearby, which town was it? Rutovu? That sounds familiar. Yeah, I think there were some hotels. What was it? Yeah, like the Pyramid Hotel here. So there's a place for you to stay, but it's not like, this isn't a tourist country to, describe that. Let's see what else. Looking at my notes here. Oh, Makamba is the capital. Now the capital of this region over here. Were there any pictures in Makamba? I mean, any good pictures? Look at that busy, busy day. My goodness. I don't think that's Makamba, but looking closer, I think it is. That's an airplane. And those are some people standing outside church. Maybe that's the pastor there. Maybe it is. I didn't think it would have that many. Maybe that was Gitega. Because it doesn't look like it has those big old skyscrapers. Maybe that was Gitega. But yeah. I think Rumonge had not a bad slideshow. I can't remember. Oh, it has no slideshow at all. Goodness, I'll remember what town I was thinking of, because there was one town that had not a bad slideshow. Maybe it was Kankuzo. Nope. Who knows? But anyway, let's see. Borders Tanzania down here. It's definitely the largest region now. It's pretty much like all of this here in Burundi. And let me see. I think that's all that I got for that area. Let's go to Butanyerera, which is up here in the north. Again, it's kind of hard to show you, but it's like hold on. I need to reorient. I'm in Rwanda, that's why I couldn't find it. That's why I couldn't find it. There's Rwanda. Here we go. This little lake region up here. As you can see, it goes over into Rwanda. It's got this long border. It's pretty much like this whole northern area until you get to Bujumbura. But it has this really beautiful lake district. And look at these lakes. I thought maybe this was man-made, but I don't think it is. I think this is all watershed. And these are all Ramsar sites as well. If you don't know, a Ramsar site is a natural area that's specifically meant to protect birds and other wildlife. It looks like a lightning strike going through here, doesn't it? It's really pretty. There's Lake Ruweru, which is really fun to say. Go ahead and say it if you're still awake. Ruweru. There's a viewpoint there. Do you think there's photos? Yes, here's the lake. This big lake. There's a plane crash. I wonder if that's the plane crash. Holy moly, it could be. Okay, and selfies. Lots of Lots of selfies. That's the thing. Lots of places in Africa are just people taking their selfies and uploading them to Google for whatever reason, which I'm not hating. People are very beautiful. But I kind of wanted to see the landscape more than your wonderful faces. But anyway, you can see all this rural landscape. It's mostly farmland up here. Lots of coffee is grown here. Let me check my notes. Oh, Ngozi's the capital while we're in this area. Over here. Maybe this was the one with a good slideshow. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Yeah, I think this was the one. This was the best one, if you can believe. Nice little house there. The town center here. They got a cool Burundi painted rock there. Nice little buildings there. A little cafe, restaurant. Beautiful landscape. Little town entrance. This is definitely crooked. This building does not look like that. The camera is crooked, but a little apartment building. Wonderful shop here selling some clothes and maybe some jewelry over here. And they're working hard making garments as well. And someone's amazing selfie. Always. There's a picture of someone posing. Yeah, that was the one I really liked. And then, is Kibera part of it? Yes, okay, good. A little bit. You can see the border right there, because, yeah, I wanted to say Kibera is in the Bujumbura area, because we already looked at Kibera National Park when I covered Bujumbura, I believe at least. It sounds very familiar. And it's gorgeous, isn't it? Look at this landscape. Looks like some coffee plants there. Little streams and waterfalls here in this beautiful lush forest. Another precarious rope bridge. I'm sure it's perfectly safe, but I would be very nervous on it. Look at that beautiful field over there. Wow. All these lovely hills all covered in this dense forest. big rivers coming through. I think I want to say the Congo. Oh, that's so precarious. I don't know if I could just hang out on it. I would be crying. I wanted to say the Congo River's nearby, but I'm probably way off. But yeah. That's Kipira. That's Rwanda. There's Kipira. Right there. Butanyerera. And it has no pictures, of course. But now this whole region is named after this once ancient kingdom, and I guess that's all that's left of the original Butanyerera. There is farms here. It's not even like a full-fledged town. It's a little farming community. But yeah, that is Burundi. Pretty much anything to see in Burundi is in Bujumbura and Gitega. So talking about this countryside, there's not very much to see. So yeah, check out the other Burundi videos if you want to see more of the big city here. Bujumbura is the biggest city and its former capital. But that's about all that I have for you tonight. Butanyerera. Really fun to say. Kirundi is a fun language. Everything feels like a tongue twister, but in the best way. So yeah, that's all that I have for you for little Burundi. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. We're going to have another Google Earth only video tomorrow as we go to Slovenia, my last of my oopsies, and this is a genuine oopsie. I miscategorized Slovenia's regions. I did a terrible job on poor Slovenia. So we're going to see the one region that I should have covered back when I did Austria. We're going to Carinthia in Slovenia, not Carinthia, Austria. Someone commented on that video, isn't there one in Slovenia? And I checked, I'm like, oh snap. That is its own region. But the maps, all the maps I've seen for that region are absolutely horrid, including the one on Google Earth. So we're just gonna Google Earth it because it's not worth it me trying to draw it out on the map. Because yeah, it's very hard to do. So we'll just Google Earth it. But please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts down below. I'd appreciate it. Please, if you're still awake, hit that thumbs up. Because the lesser known African countries on my channel get very few views. So if you're watching this, I very much appreciate that. And if you hit that thumbs up, if you hype this video, if you're on mobile within the first 3 days of this being released, you can hype the video if you still have hype points. And that helps boost the video as well. I would appreciate that. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a good night. Good night. Good night.